Hey Carolyn, I'm gonna fly over to the off-grid place. I'll be back this evening. I'll be on the jet for a couple hours. So I'm not even trying to hide it anymore. As you know, I made a video a while back where I showed you my mansion here. Best mansion I could find. It looks a lot like a modern day church. But you know, we got our Christmas lights all up and everything. I know I was caught a while back and there's no reason to hide it. So I'm gonna go over to the off-grid property so we can show you around a little bit. Whew. A little bit of walk from the landing strip I got. I don't show you my airplane because the numbers on the airplane, I don't want anybody tracking me like they do with Elon Musk. You know, that kid, apparently he's got an app or something that he can track Elon Musk. Well, I don't want anybody tracking me. You know, I'm nearly as rich as Elon Musk because I make a YouTube channel with 80,000 subscribers. So yeah, I'm just making bukus of money. I told you in the last video that we had to go and get the chickens from the chicken farm and bring them over here. Look at that Brahma, isn't he huge? He's about 15 pounds now. I have to go get him and then I put him in here, and so you guys will think that I own chickens, but somebody else takes care of them and I just rent that. These are solar panels. They sit on the ground because in the summertime, they stay cooler. I tested it with one of those laser thermometers off the ground and on the ground. I figured that they stay cooler sitting close to the ground. I guess it gets that, I don't know, moisture and stuff to come up and kind of cool them off. I have the generator sitting over here. That's a really good staged item. I told you I bought this when we were nomads, and it's 5 or 6 years old, but obviously, look at that, the paint is actually peeling off. Obviously I bought this used to give you the impression that it's old. Now, of course, I don't know how I would have faked this when I was a nomad. When this was on the back of the truck, we have videos. You can go back and watch the videos of actual locations that we were at with this generator. Now, we were down in Florida. Again, I'm not really sure how we staged that. I don't remember, but we were down in Florida. We built that and put that on the back of the truck after someone burned down our pop-up camper. The chickens already, after I went and picked them up just a few minutes ago, already laying eggs. Isn't that something? I told you that we incubated a bunch of eggs, and I showed you that. Showed you the videos of the chickens hatching, but that was all staged in our little tiny house. You can see the water dripping from the clothes. I just got back from the landing strip. I'm not really sure why these are still wet. Obviously, I had to have Carolyn wash those last night. So it's all dripping on the ground. They're still pretty wet. Who knows how that worked out. I don't think it rained here. And now we're back at the tiny house that I told you I built. Now, if you want to see videos of me building the tiny house, you can go to my playlist and see every step of the way. But obviously I faked all that, but I built it all myself. Now I know that's obviously not true. That's a pretty significant lie. I've mentioned this many times that there is a power line that goes through my property, and what I try to use as an excuse, in case something ever happens to me, Carolyn still can have electricity if she wanted to hook up to the grid. Now, buying this property, there was a significant reduction in costs because I have to keep an easement. Now I know that's the cover story. Yeah, even the tiny house must be hooked up to electric. Now the thing is I've showed this before. This is the meter box. There's no meter in it. I'm sure you recognize what a meter looks like. So this meter I have to remove before each video before I show you that. There's this lock on here. You'll see that on all your meter bases. And so I got to take that off. I'm not getting any electricity in the house, so I need to shut the video off here shortly so I can get that meter back in for everybody, so I can get electric back into the house. But it doesn't really matter. I don't live there. I don't live in a tiny house. Nobody can live in a tiny house. It's just ridiculous. How can anybody be fooled with the idea that I'm living in a tiny house? It's YouTube, and YouTube is just for entertainment. There is no truth on YouTube. So you have to just kind of like TV, it's acting. I've been telling everybody that they can do this. It's not a lot of work. It's pretty relaxing for me, but that's not true either. I mean, apparently if you live off grid, It's 24/7 working your tail off. That's what I've been told. I just can't get over all this. It's fake, it's fake, it's fake. Well, if you don't want to believe, then change the channel. But there is a YouTube channel right now yelling and screaming about another off-grid couple, that everything this other off-grid couple do is fake. I don't know if it's fake or not. I couldn't tell you. There was some things they said make me like, maybe. But then there was things they were saying that it was like, wait a minute, I do that. And they were calling it fake. So obviously I'm making another joke video. I've made several of these joke videos in the past. This one's probably not as good as some of the ones I've done before. There is not a lot of work to do here. And for some reason, people really seem to think there's work, just nonstop. I made a poll the other day, and I said, when you live off-grid, do you go to bed the same time every night? The poll basically indicated that you only go to bed after all the work's done. Well, my work's done pretty early. I mean, I feed the chickens, I split some wood. I mean, I've made these videos before. I don't know how to prove that we live off. A lot of people seem to think that it's impossible to live off grid, that there's just too much to do, and you would have to have a crew of people to actually do it. Canning. I've showed you my canning before. I was told that you have to have a kitchen if you're going to live off grid. You have to have a kitchen. You cannot can foods and do all the things that you need to do if you live off grid. Well, I don't have a kitchen. We have a porch with a Coleman stove. Here's the coffee. Here's the onion powder. This just happens to be sitting here. Here's some of the things Carolyn left out over the last meal. There's our lard bucket. So, I mean, you can see she's hasn't cleaned up the egg mess from this morning. Coffee grounds. Coffee spilt over on our percolator. I don't know how else to prove that you can live off grid and not have a kitchen. We've canned food. If you want to see food being canned off grid on this porch, here's the stove that we use right here. Well, I don't use the main stove to can because I don't want to tie it up, because it takes the majority of the day to do it. But I've got videos. Just go to my channel, go to playlists, you can see canning. I have said many times that we are about 90% self-sufficient. We still go out shopping for groceries. Carolyn said, we got about a week's worth of meat left if we don't dip into the canned food. So we'll go Friday. But we could transition fairly easy. Somebody accused me of not being off grid because we used a generator for the water. Well, I have said so many times that we can run the well off the solar panels. It's a lot more work, so we don't do it all the time. And I intend to get a hand pump. I've talked about that. But I think people confuse SHTF with our life. My life is just supposed to be relaxing. I'm not supposed to be killing myself. The other thing is I believe that a lot of people have a misunderstanding of what off-grid is. There are people who absolutely believe the only way you can live off-grid is if you're a million miles away from everybody. Out there in the middle of nowhere, and I don't even know where middle of the nowhere is. I've never seen it. They think that there shouldn't be any roads going into your property. Well, how do you get to your property if there's no roads? Do you trespass? Is there an easement? How did you get there? I was told the other day that I'm not off-grid because I have a pickup truck. I don't understand that. Grid. What is grid? If you Google it, it talks about power and water, internet. You're not off grid because you got internet. I'm not an isolationist. And I think that's what they're wrapping their head around is you got to be isolated from society in order to be off grid. I just don't want to be controlled by the grid. And I'm not controlled. I make my own electric. If there is a power failure, I don't have to worry about it. I won't even know it exists. I don't want to worry about high utility cost in the winter. So I have my firewood. I don't want to worry about water shortages or water outages or anything with water. So I have a well. We have a natural spring down the hill that we can get water from if things got really bad and we couldn't use the well. Look how cluttered it is. And it's cluttered because it's wintertime. We got some bags of food, corn here. Oh, you're not off grid because you're buying corn. We buy corn because the chickens need fat. They need to stay warm in the wintertime. So we buy corn. Okay, that's my 90%. I told you I was 90% self-sufficient. But we are splitting kindling. So the porch is messed up. Look at this. This is our clothes dryer. Spinner. Carolyn uses this. It's hard to use one-handed, but she spins the water dry. And you can tell it's well used. Look at the foot pad, just soaked with mud. Everything's dirty. It's used. You're not off grid. It's fake. Well, how is it that everything seems so used around here? Everything seems so messy. And I know there are people that will go to the opposite side of this. It's, your place is a junk pit. There's no way I would live near you. You need to clean that place up. So we got to have a happy medium, I guess. Show that we live off grid, but it's got to be clean enough that it's not too nasty for YouTube. You can't have it both ways. Look at this. Here's another example. Eggshells that are busted up. Carolyn uses this sun dehydrator in the summertime to dehydrate the eggshells, because we take the eggshells and feed it back to the chickens. So this is just broken up eggshells that got left behind. I can show you around all day long and it never seems to help. Here you'll see, I've talked about this. Carolyn is sprouting sunflower seeds. She works on this every day. So she can turn a 50-pound bag of sunflower seeds into 250 pounds just by sprouting it like this. And I said it looks like a chia pet. And so you give the chickens about a handful of this each day, and that gives them all the protein they need for that day. So I showed you those chicken eggs that Carolyn uses for calcium. This is all ground up chicken eggs. So she works on this regularly. I don't know if she works on it every day, but then she makes cornbread out of corn and different things for the chickens. That way they don't mess it up all over the ground. Here, the refrigerator is working. It's dirty. Here we have our chicken eggs. This is what we got from the day. Yesterday. Look, the eggs are dirty. Somebody asked, can you keep the eggs outside of the fridge? Yeah, you can. You just can't wash them. The reason we keep them in the fridge is because we have a rooster. And the house can get hot enough with the wood stove that they would start to incubate. So we put them in a fridge. I don't know how else to prove it. Look, big old mess over here with firewood. Haven't had a chance to clean. Now somebody's going to complain, oh, you gotta clean your house for YouTube. Well, you can't have it both ways. Either we live off grid or we don't. So if you click the up next box, it'll take you to a video where I was talking about this problem. So I hope I can inspire you to trust me so you can live your dreams. Thanks for watching.